listening to Second Wind with Joyce Buford, where women who are ready to expand their life adventure discover the tools to stop playing small and tap into the courage required to enjoy their second wind. Welcome. Hello out there. Welcome to Second Wind. I am thrilled that you are here today. You know, this is why I created this program, which has been going on for 10 years. I just wanted to make so many opportunities for you to be able to pick up and create that new life that you're looking for. So today I've brought to you another woman that is going to share what she does in her life and how she is enjoying every minute of her life today. And it's going to be a really show. I wish you could just pick up the line and ask her questions. I know it'd be right on the tip of your tongue if you could. Well, Michelle Gladieux is author of communication. She's just authored a book, and it's called Communications with Courage. One Communication with Courage. Taking risks to overcome the 4 hidden challenges, which I know she's going to share with us what those are. I'm hoping. Now, she's president of her Gladieux Consulting, and it's in the Midwest, and its based team is known for top-notch design and presentation of seminars in communication and leadership topics around the United States. Now, she spent 18 years teaching in collegiate environments, which I said to her, I think you like to teach. I think we could be soulmates because we both love teaching and expanding other people's experiences. So I'm so excited to welcome Michelle with us today.
Hello, thank you for having me. It's lovely to be with you.
Oh, thank you. Now, I am so curious about the title. You've always taught communications in a college environment, correct?
College and nonprofits, for-profits, governments, yeah, all types of organizations, and then a lot of college teaching experience as well. You're right.
Yes. And you also, there was this other thing in your bio. You accepted your first adjunct faculty position at age 23. Now, that's really pretty young for that?
That's pretty young. You have to have a master's degree to teach in many colleges. And so as soon as I had it at 23, I started sending out applications because I did feel a calling to teach. And that was a challenge. I used to try to look older, and now I try to look younger.
Yes, it's strange how Mother Nature.
Isn't it strange? That went quick.
But we have to be flexible. Always. So I hear that your clients were so excited when you decided to write this book because they respect your work so much and they know you're a knowledgeable lady. So I'm anxious to get into Communicate with Courage.
Let's do it.
So was this a thought of or a gradual piece of work that you've done over the years?
It was something I always wanted to do, but was so busy writing custom training workbooks and writing other Coach's Corner articles, and just there's a lot of writing every night after teaching all day, so I was I needed the commitment to really set aside time, and that happened over the last 4 years, and then submitted the full manuscript and was lucky to get aligned with BK Publishers out of Oakland for it. And I'd say they made me a better writer. Certainly my editor Jeevan there and I had a lot of great arguments about what should or shouldn't be in this small paperback book. I'd say it's pretty short, but I have learned that sometimes it takes longer to write a short book.
Oh,
I know everybody's busy, so I tried to keep it tight, filled with communication pro moves. And as I get older, I realize, I keep thinking about how we're not here for very long on this planet, and I just wanted to give back the information I've received, kind of with my own twist to it, to hopefully help people in professional and personal life communicate better.
Right. When did you realize this was really the path you wanted to take? Was there something very defining in your background that caused this?
I
Or
remember
resulted in
being,
this?
yeah, I remember being in preschool and asking my teacher to step to the side so I could tell her privately that the method she was working on communicating with the child in the class that was having some difficulties wasn't going to work and she needed to try something else. So that sent a note home to my parents and not in a bad way, but just letting you know, Michelle has opinions about how we're teaching and how we're communicating here. So I think that might be what I'm here to do, and I'm trying to bloom where I'm planted.
And
I'm not really good at much else, to be honest.
how old were you at that time? That took
I was
courage.
4.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe that, Michelle.
I had a little opinion. I just saw that it wasn't going to work out for that student that way if they interacted with him that way, and I thought I would go ahead and tell the teacher.
Oh, well, which she sounds like maybe she was receptive or not.
I think she was, Joyce. I think she just wanted my parents to know that, Michelle might have a bit of a calling to teaching, or she's got an opinion that other kids don't come talk to us about. I'm surprised I did that because I was so shy. I was the kid who would always hide behind my mom's legs if people tried to say, "Oh, hello, how are you, little girl?" I would hide. So as we age, we try. I hope we're all trying to gain some courage and confidence to be who
Yes.
we are and
Yeah.
say what we need to say in a diplomatic way.
Mhm.
But I guess I grew out of the shyness eventually.
Right. Now, you also do a lot of speaking. And was
Do.
that a growing experience as well, or were you always very comfortable on the stage?
Hmm. I remember reading at church. I liked that. I would volunteer to do readings.
Mhm.
Went to a parochial grade school and then enjoyed science fairs and things. I think this was honestly some good role models. I think my parents and my older siblings were
Mhm.
sort of give it a try.
Mhm.
You'll make mistakes, you'll
Mhm.
survive. And
Mhm.
then I started feeling like that juice you get, and I've watched some of your videos just recently. I know you've been on many stages. That adrenaline rush is a pretty neat natural high.
Mhm.
It's facing fear every time. I'm afraid that somebody will not think it's worth their time. And then I think I will do my best, and that's all I can do is my best, and I'll get better each
Yes.
time. So that's kind of how I look at it.
You're so right. There is that fear.
You still feel that?
Yeah, I do.
You do? Okay, good. That makes me feel better.
Because I so honestly want to provide quality that I think it's pretty normal to have a little fuzzy fear inside your body. I don't know what to do with it sometimes.
I have an idea about that. I would say expect it, and we can accept it's going to be there. And then when we feel fear, that is the cue. Summon the courage. Oh, I'm
Mhm.
afraid of this environment, something about this when it comes to communication. And I'm not saying that people shouldn't get themselves out of dangerous communication
Right.
situations.
Mhm.
I just think that if we want to be there, there's a little piece of us that wants to be in the game as a communicator and we're afraid. That's when we know we have to pull that courage out, something no one else can do for us.
Mhm.
We can listen to podcasts, we can work with coaches, etc. But
Right.
in the end, it's going to be we decide whether to stand up or sit down.
Right. Yeah. So tell us about, is there more to say about fear? Is it always about our delivery, or is it about our subject matter, or is it about what are the
All
other fears
right.
we
Those are
face?
we could worry about our delivery or not knowing our subject matter well, or maybe there's someone that makes us nervous in the audience.
Yes.
Whenever I have close family or friends or coworkers, I invite them and then I think, why did I invite them? This is the jury of your peers is the toughest folks to really, oh, they're gonna see me do what I do. And sometimes it's society's messages or somebody gave us a false or even a true negative piece of feedback and we carry it around. I have though through a lot of college teachings, I've always taught like the speech class. One of the classes I love to teach is that speech class that everybody has to take.
Yeah.
And I would assign 8 speeches throughout the semester, and I would watch as these adults of various ages would come up and the hands would shake, or they'd say, Michelle, my face always turns red and then my neck turns red. etc. And I said, then, okay, we'll expect that to happen. But I bet by the time we get to public speaking opportunity number 6 or 7 or 8, it subsides. Let's do an experiment. It subsides as they call on their courage. And in 18 years of teaching college, I never saw that rationale fail someone. But they had to be willing to stand with shaking hands in front of an audience or a reddened face and neck. It's a lot like swimming, I think. I remember hating swimming lessons, and the teacher would throw pennies out, and as little kids, we were supposed to go underwater, get the money. I was long, I'm tall, so I would lean over and reach down. So the only thing that got wet was my ear, which I also didn't like, get the penny. I was afraid to get immersed, right? But when we get up and speak, it's kind of like swimming. It's a different environment, but you can get good at it.
Right.
Just some thoughts.
After 18 years of working, nonstop in this environment, do you see that the people that are striving for the speaking stage or expressing themselves, have they changed?
Ooh, I think that maybe the change is now that most of us can, for free and immediately, express ourselves online on social media with all the good and bad that brings. And yes, folks who want to do public speaking, usually with our personality assessments, I do a lot of executive coaching, but all levels of employees, those who are more extroverted seem more comfortable sharing their messages. And those who are more inward, and there's nothing wrong with being introverted or getting energy from being away from people, that might be sometimes harder. Although I do know some folks who test in the top 1 percentile of introversion, and then I go see them perform. Thinking of a family member who makes his living as a professional musician. And I think as I sit there and watch him rock out on stage, I think, but I know that you are introverted. How are you doing that? And he has said that it's almost like between the stage and the tables, there's almost like that comfort zone. There's enough distance that it can almost be a solo pursuit. So introverts take heart. There's always a little space between you and the audience, and you can always think for a minute before you respond if you get a tough question, kind of thing.
I think, because of other studying that I've done this year, that when a person is in tune and discovers what really feeds their soul, I believe it overcomes so many obstacles.
That's beautiful.
They flourish because it's kind of like they're in a little world of their own, and they really, really, it's safe. And so they go.
That's a cool way to put it. I was talking with a colleague about personal mission statements, and if any of your listeners would be interested in a free, simple resource in 2020, I created, this just interesting, this came up. I created a what's your unique mission exercise. So they can go to the website, GladioConsulting.com. I'll spell it GLADIEUX, GladioConsulting.com. Hit free tools and down these things will pop. Downloadable, e-fillable, where you can print and write in your answers, and the questions to figuring out what one is really here to do as a communicator that we like are, what's your name? What do you love to do? For whom? What do they want or need that you could give? And how do they change as a result? And now we get up in the morning and we're thinking, I know what my gift is or my gifts are, and I'm going to strive to share that with others in communication in some way, probably. And they're going to change a little bit. Not always, not always, but some people will change a little bit because of the gift that I shared. And I love that. There you go. That's some courageous communication, just to investigate why you're here.
Right. Yeah, that's great.
People are busy, though. It's hard to pause, right, and think about our personal mission.
But I think those things come in our life that really stop us, death, loss of a loved one, all sorts of things that I found in my life. There are times when I just stop. I just have to stop. And so those, even though you could be in pain, are your best growing periods. If you can just
know it.
and just go into what's hurting you, or take out a pencil and start writing, just
Yeah, I
awesome.
think grief for sure. Grief motivated my book in a lot of ways. I wanted to pay tribute to my mom who taught me so many things, but passed away when I was 19 from
Mm,
cancer.
mm,
And I keep remembering all the great stuff she shared, and I've tried it out, over the last 30 years. Turns out some of this stuff really works. I'm going to write it down because I realize I won't be here forever. And then maybe
yes,
when someone else is grieving, they can look at my words and maybe find some solace. But
yes.
all the grief I've experienced in life, I have to say, I think it made my heart bigger.
Mm,
I certainly have more compassion for others who are going through transitions now.
yeah, yeah.
And you have a ton of it. It's beautiful. It just comes right off of you.
Oh, good.
Yeah, some wise words here. I hope the listeners are taking notes on what Joyce has to say.
Now you use a word that I've used, but you're using it a different way. Defining. Yes, you have
Yeah,
defining here. That's one of the four.
the 4 hidden challenges. Yes. So hiding is when we are a little afraid or a lot afraid that somebody will see where we're weak. So we
Oh,
button up, we don't participate, we leave the room, we don't answer the survey, we don't answer the phone, we
mm,
don't share what we're thinking or feeling. And I understand that if you've been hurt before, it can be hard to share as a communicator, but it's a hidden challenge. And so I thought I should write about it and what to do about it in the book. So people could get in the game a little bit more.
right. Oh, you say on your outline here,
Yeah.
being quick to judge. How is
Okay.
that, being quick to judge?
Defining is the second hidden challenge I write about in Communicate with Courage, and that is just putting too much stock into what we assume. We move, as you well know, we move through the world with only one viewpoint, our own, and then
Yes.
we are quick to divide one another into us and them. So a brave communicator, I think, is trying not to be so quick to judge and maybe asks another question. How about asking, tell me how you see it?
Oh,
Be
that's
so
a
damn
nice
sure. Don't
suggestion.
be so damn sure you're right. And even if you are right, somebody else may have another version of truth, right?
That's true.
I
That's
mean, I hope lightning doesn't strike me, Joyce, because as I sit here talking to you about the hidden challenges that we should avoid and address, I'm guilty of them like this morning. So
yeah.
every day,
Every
most of them every day.
yes.
But we have to know them. If we don't know them, then we cannot overcome them.
Right. Yeah. Okay, let's talk about rationalizing.
Okay. That would be shielding yourself from taking chances that a little part of you wants to take. You're at
Mm.
the wedding and you think, I've known this couple a long time. I wish I was brave enough to give a toast. Up with you.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
stand up and go ahead and clink your glass. Clink your glass, and then you'll be thinking, oh my gosh, what have I done? Speak from the heart. And don't take, that's a risk. That takes courage. Don't take unnecessary risk, like have 6 glasses of wine and then give the speech. And that happens, or then give a toast. You see that happen. So
Yeah.
calculated risk is where it's at. And that helps us overcome rationalizing, which is trying to shield ourselves from taking a chance to do the hard thing.
Yeah. So I see it how one might rationalize, talk themselves out of doing it, not
I
to
could
be
never
in
do
that
that. I
place.
could never do that. Someone would be better at that. They don't care what I think. It's
Yeah.
not my place.
Who am
People will
I?
live, right. Isn't it sad? And
Mhm.
we really, sometimes our mind is really in control of us instead of us trying to monitor our mind. It's taking over and saying all kinds of unkind things that aren't true or that might have been true at one point in our lives and they're not anymore, or we're working to overcome them. So with my coaching clients, I always ask them to maybe think about or list when you say something to yourself that's not kind, it's going to hurt, but write it down and please bring it to the next session. And then I'll have them read these things to me. Heartbreaking, Joyce. One woman said, okay, first up, I'm a bad mom. I said, wow, I'm not a mom. I don't have human kids. I've always had dog children. But so you mean like they're not fed and clothed and loved and you don't help them learn and you don't play with them? They don't have social opportunities? She said, no, I do all of those things. I just feel like I'm spending too much time at work at night lately.
Oh,
Oh, that's a different thing. Can we cross out I'm a bad mom? And she crossed it out and wrote, I feel like I'm spending too much time at night at work lately.
yeah.
Oh, good. And her shoulder dropped by 4 inches, and I could tell we needed to look at that in the light. So, one way that we can overcome rationalizing that we're not worth it or it's not worth the chance to communicate is to maybe document the kind of poopy stuff we sometimes say to ourselves and
Right,
check it out to see if it's true. It might be true. And if
right.
it is something that you can't refute, get to work on that if you don't like it.
Mm-hmm,
But there's so much that we say that's not even, it's not based in reality.
mm-hmm. Yeah, we really do. I can see women doing that because just one part of their picture isn't the way they want it to be. And they do all this other wonderful stuff, right?
Oh, yeah,
Isn't it?
yeah.
Yeah.
I have some
I
mindful,
used,
but
I used to be afraid. I did a lot of study like with Jack Canfield, and he every year he has 300 people in his small little session. Or it's a
okay,
week.
the VIPs.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And so I was really afraid to ask my question that maybe it wasn't smart enough, have enough depth, or maybe nobody would relate to it. I really, I mean,
Yeah.
I had some growing stages in there. I don't feel like that today. I'm not thrown in those situations as much, but I don't think it holds me back today. But that's
Good.
because I've spent 10 years on the podcast and I made several mistakes, but
But
it's
you're the courageous one that started the podcast, not knowing how it would go, right? Not knowing when people want to come be a guest. I think it's going pretty good. 10 years
yes.
going pretty good.
I had
I wanted to mention I took a mindfulness class recently.
mhm,
My friend Dr. John Walker taught it, and he had us do an exercise related to self-talk that he asked us to think of a friend who was going through a tough time or who had failed in some way and what we would say to them. And we wrote that down. I wrote things like, you got this. I believe in you. You've been through tough times and you've come out of it. You
right.
have so many gifts. And I thought of my friend and I thought of things I truly meant. And he
Mhm,
said, now it's yourself. And you have messed up and put your foot in your mouth or whatever you've done that was embarrassing or a failure in some way. What do you say to yourself? Write it down. And I don't know if I'm allowed to cuss on this podcast, so I won't. I'll just spell it. I wrote down, get your SHIT together, Michelle. What is wrong with you?
mhm,
Wow. I wasn't
mhm,
I wasn't very kind to myself. Get your
mhm,
ish together. What's wrong with
mhm,
you? Dang. But my friend gets, I believe in you. You're going to be able to get through this. Everybody makes mistakes. And his only point, and it was a very good teaching point, let's look at
mhm.
the quality of how we speak to ourselves. And that will help us be more courageous and less afraid when we start to
Mhm.
correct the lies we tell ourselves.
Right.
I get excited about that. I'll settle down a little, but man, we're
Well,
hurting ourselves every day, a lot of us. And I think women are especially
yeah,
hard on themselves.
right. Like I'm too fat. We go through all the body parts.
Fat, too
No.
thin, too tall, too short. I mean, this stuff, a lot of this stuff is out of our control. And as we try to look like what society tells us to look like the women on the billboards, they don't look like that either. That's airbrushing. We're
Mhm.
like, we're kind of maybe focused on things that at the end of our lives we might say, dang it, that wasn't important after all. So I want more women, yes, and men to be more courageous communicators. And I think they need to see these challenges so they can then work on them forever. There's no
Yes.
graduation.
Yes.
Good
All right.
times.
We have one more completing the four, I keep
Challenges.
challenges,
Yep.
the 4 challenges. So that's
Okay.
called settling.
Yeah. Kind of related to the others, isn't it? But it's settling for good enough, stopping at acceptable, good enough, instead of striving sometimes toward better interactions. Not every interaction has to be the most important conversation of your life. But in a lot of your interactions throughout the day, you could probably add a sentence to the email that would be very meaningful to the person receiving it, maybe some gratitude. You could probably watch your tone as you speak to loved ones and coworkers and customers, because tone hits people, like a feather or like a fist, really.
Mhm.
And then when I cross the line to being unkind, I get in trouble, like with family. you know,
Yes.
I'll say, all I said was, Joyce, all I said was, oh, are you still working on dinner? That's all I said. No, it's how you said it. So I have to own that. So when we try to overcome settling, we start to look at small ways we can improve as a communicator, and we give a little more. Maybe we stop something, like we stop interrupting, or maybe we start something new, like we start asking someone, tell me how you see it, and putting aside our ego to try to understand.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I want more for our listeners and my readers. I want them to strive for a little bit better every year as a communicator. So they, like me, like I can look back to 10 years ago. Good luck getting an apology out of me if I harmed you in some way, because I thought it means you lose. If you apologize, you lose. And I had to get my head around and grow up as a communicator to realize, oh, it's the strong, it's the courageous who can say, I'm sorry that I hurt you.
Oh, yeah.
So that's kind of fun. As you get older, if you set small communication goals, then you can look back and celebrate.
Yeah. Do you have children?
I don't. Have never felt called, really. I think it's a vocation in itself, and I've just felt the calling more to work with adults.
I think women that are mothers have this communication problem. Our fathers too. I'm not just saying but I think there's communication problems that can arise so much between mothers and children, fathers and children. We
Okay.
just don't, and couples, we just
Yeah.
don't know how to communicate. I'm out.
We've tried, and now we're going to settle for good enough rather than try that again, or get a therapist involved or a coach involved.
Yeah.
And then there's knowing when to quit trying,
Mhm.
and I do address that in the book, and I've done it a few times in life. Always, it's a very somber occasion if you have to stop communicating with someone completely, and I have some ideas about that I share.
Oh, well, I'm glad I ordered my book today.
Oh, I'm grateful you did.
I'm going to get some good pointers out of it. And Michelle,
Well, you let me know how it could be better. I've written workbooks and chapters of books, but never a book. So I'm sure there are ways. I'd love to hear from your listeners what was good and what could be better, so I can be courageous and ask that question. And I really mean it. I want to know what could be better.
Yeah, I would say that probably communication, as simple as it sounds, is probably one of the biggest challenges we have as humans.
Well put. I haven't considered it that way. It's just the air we breathe, so it's part of everybody's life every day.
Mm-hmm.
The choice to communicate or not to communicate even is a choice about communication. That's a really good point. So maybe we shouldn't beat ourselves up so much when we mess up.
I'm for that.
Although, yeah. One more thing I wanted to say about settling. Oh, shoot. What was it? Oh, I wanted to share that in one of our customer service training sessions recently, I asked an audience if they could improve the last conversation they had, shine it up by 1%, what would they, and then write it down on a slip of paper, pass it forward, no names, but 1% better last conversation with a customer, what could you have done? And here's what they said. I could have sounded more confident. I could have sounded less arrogant. I could have just let it go. I could have asked someone else's opinions first. I could have listened longer to diffuse their frustration. Here's my favorite. I could have picked up the call sounding like I cared.
That is a good one, isn't it?
That's honest, isn't it?
Yeah.
I could have reread my email before I hit send. I could have prepared before I made the call. I could have avoided a rude tone. I could have followed up but didn't. I could have thanked the person, and now I wish I had. I could have used their name. I could have not interrupted. I could have got to the point faster. And then someone else said, I could have slowed my roll, slowed down so they could understand me better.
Oh,
A beautiful rainbow of quick ideas, just a room full of humans in customer service thinking, how could I have done better the last interaction? That's a fun way to get better, of course, at
it is.
communication is look at your last interaction.
That's an interesting exercise, really.
Easy, Pete, feel free to borrow it. The 1% difference exercise. And Joyce, I named it that so people wouldn't feel like they had to change a lot, or if they were maybe a very proud person, oh, I could be 1% better, right? Maybe it's more like 50. Maybe it's more like 50. Hee hee. But for all those, high power people in the back,
Yes.
for all those executives that already know they're good, well, what about 1%? And then people started writing right away when we said 1%.
Oh, really? Well, I did learn very early in my iPhone years, you don't text when you're having a problem.
Ah,
Just doesn't come out
no,
right.
it doesn't. That's a good point.
So I think we have the opportunity with our voice to put sound, like you just said, how somebody sounds is so important. That caring, that tenderness in the voice box,
Sure.
however that gets
Right.
translated.
That's a
But
good point. We can't get to caring with everyone. We might not feel tenderly about everyone, but can we strive for respect whenever possible? And when I'm mad, that goes out the window for me. I'm getting better.
mhm. Yeah, it's a challenge, isn't it?
It is.
For me. Yeah.
But we're still here. So if we wake up tomorrow, we get another chance.
Mhm. Yes. So now do you go, are you going out to talk about you? I mean,
Oh,
when they
good
book
question.
you,
What's going on?
I'm
Yeah,
gonna say
it's
it
just,
here in a minute.
it's
When they book you, do you come in specifically to talk about your book?
sometimes, but it has
Mhm.
always been for the last 20 years, seminars about giving, receiving feedback or managing stress and change or presentation skills, leadership skills, performance reviews. I was an HR director for a long time in in manufacturing and robotics and construction
Oh,
industries and the cold storage industry. And so I grew to love these topics that relate to organizational behavior and
mm,
improving communication in companies and governments. So this will be new in 2023. I've just started to get my first couple of requests early 2023 here, January, for workshops built around the book. So
ah,
that's currently that's what's happening with my instructional design time. I'm thinking a lot about how can we use this book in training.
yeah. And who is the person that primarily is asking you to come do that? Is it corporations?
It's nonprofits, it's for profits, it's a sheriff's department, a hospital, a bank, a
Mm,
cold storage facility, a manufacturer, the Air Force. It's, I think it's kind of neat because we all need leadership communication skills. And so it applies to a lot of environments. And my team and I, we're a team of 10. We get to know a lot of little things about different industries and we go deep and get to know the team pretty well. So we can feel their struggles and then write the training that works to help them be better communicators. I think
mm,
there's a place for this book in that. We're learning about where we might want to put it into seminars.
yeah. What would you tell my listener that's out there that's she or he recognizes the issue they have with, and I think all of us have challenges with the language barriers that we put out in front of us. Conversation is difficult for most people in all situations. And because you have the voice, you have the words, you have your emotions, you have so much that is
Good
involved.
point. This is like trying to hit a good golf shot. For
Yes.
me, nearly impossible. Okay, yes, I get it now. It's like a good golf shot.
So, what would you recommend to my listener that is thinking she might have communication problems? The place
Sure.
to start would be where?
Somebody you trust and go up to them and say, hey, you were there at that meeting or at that dinner table or at that event.
Mhm.
Can you give me some honest feedback? Was there anything I'd like to know something you liked about my communication? And then something that in your opinion I could have done better. And I won't be mad, but this is the training exercise from a podcast that I'm listening to. That makes it a lot easier. I have this assignment. Can you please give me one thing you like about me as a communicator, one thing about my communication that could be better? And again, they can find, there's a lot of free tools on our website, GladieuxConsulting.com. Click on free tools and you'll see a one-page way that you could even email that or print it and give it to a friend. If you don't want to mess with screen time, just have a conversation. That almost could be a text or a voicemail. Just completing a podcast assignment. Can you please share with me one thing I do well as a communicator, one thing you think I could do better? And no matter what you hear, folks, your answer to that is, thank you, I'll think about that. Because you might hear something about yourself and you'll be tempted to say, oh, no, I didn't do that. I didn't mean that. That's not how. Hold up, just say, hey, thanks. I'll think about that. And then get away from them so you can go think about it.
Gives you time. Yeah.
Right.
Would you encourage them to go? And I'm honestly, I think this would be my route, to go buy your book.
Well, I would love it. I'll tell you what, I love it. It's on Amazon. It's everywhere. Communicate with Courage. But I will share that I did the Audible recording because the publisher did offer me narrators to choose among. And I couldn't imagine, Joyce, somebody else telling the story of, me saying goodbye to my mom as a teenager and the fights we would have about me getting back to school at Purdue and wanting to be at the hospital. She wasn't having it. She's like, get to college. That's where you belong. Go learn. And I couldn't imagine, as I tell some of these funny stories and sad stories, somebody else's voice. It's too personal. So if you have listeners that prefer Audible, there's that option, or there's paperback.
I think that's wise. I love to listen to the author.
Well, now I can't. I wish I could listen to the author, but I don't think my ego can handle it just yet. I'm not sure I can stand it. It's what a look in the mirror that is. Listen to yourself read 10 short chapters. Still, so if you listen to it, let me know what I could do better. But I hope they'll check it out either way, whether they prefer paperback or if they prefer a voice in their ear.
Yes, for sure. Well, we're approaching the end of our time together. And, I want to share with you that my word this year is joy. Now,
wonderful.
I love that word because I think so few of us understand how important joy is in our life. Sometimes we forget that we need to reach for joy. But my question to you, and everybody gets this question that comes on Second Wind, so I'm not picking on you.
Okay.
Can you share with us a time that you remember you experienced true joy?
Sure, I will pick. There are many, thankfully. I will pick a time when I did something brave as a communicator, since that is our theme. I play a little bass. I play some rock bass. I'm not very good, but I have friends and family who will let me share the stage for, let's say, a couple Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers songs. And I have experienced beautiful joy when knowing a song well enough to get my scared little self up on stage and make my fingers move on the bass in the right places, that I did pretty good and stayed with the song. I thought I had died and gone to heaven because it was out of my comfort zone. Now, if you give me the microphone and say, talk about communication, sure. Put a guitar on me and my fingers turn to ice. So when I practice and when I get up there for one or two songs, I feel renewed and joyful. And I hope I do some of that in 2023 because it's been a long time. Writing this book is one of the things that has taken the place for the last 4 years of fun like that. So I'm going to enjoy some more fun like that, I hope, this year.
Oh, I want to see you on the stage playing that bass.
I can't invite you because I really know you and you'll make me more nervous.
Well, you can understand.
I'm kidding. I'd invite you. Next time I'm in Texas.
Well, I'm going to say, give me a few minutes here. I'm going to say goodbye to my listeners, and then we'll sum up the call, but I am so glad that you were here so you could hear Michelle. Is she not real? Is she not just the girl next door that you want to get her wisdom? And she's been so great to share it today with us. Well, I do encourage you to go to her. Oh, you can go to Amazon. You can go and buy the book. It's not on your website, is it?
There's a link from our website. Sure.
Oh, there is? I'm sorry. You can go to the website.
No.
Yeah. But it'll send you to Amazon, won't it?
It will.
Yeah. So it's so easy to get the copy. And now, since she's doing the voice, you might want to listen to her, read it to you. So that's a great options for this, for being exposed to her book. So I do encourage you to do this because I know so few people that have perfect conversation skills. And I think there's work for all of us in many, many, many areas. So I'm not really giving you much of an assignment other than think about buying the book if you're struggling with conversations, and or even just have a few questions about it. You don't have to struggle, but if you will, share this, because there's always someone out there that needs more support, and you may know them or you may not know that their struggles. Anyway, I love that you were here, that you listened all the way through, and that you walk away with valuable information. I look forward to you being here next week because you're part of the family. So thanks for being here. I'll see you next week. Bye.
Joyce Buford returns next week at the same time for another edition of Second Wind. Through the Joyce Buford Empowerment System, women are receiving the support they need through their transitions and are able to reclaim their true purpose with confidence. They receive the tools they need to map out new lives. You can find out more about her coaching services at joycebufordempowers.com.